Hi, I'm Mrs. Mangiamele, and today we're going to put together a clarinet. So the first thing you want to do is hopefully sit on a carpeted area. You don't want to drop your clarinet and break it before you've even had the chance to play it. It's very fragile, very delicate, and it can be expensive to fix. So once you're sitting on the floor, you're going to put the case so that the logo is facing the ceiling and that the handle is facing you. If you have a Yamaha brand instrument, it will say Yamaha underneath the handle right here. So you can go ahead and open it up carefully. The first part you're going to want to take out is the reed. It should be in a plastic case or sometimes a box. But they look like this, and you want to be very careful with them because they are about $2 a piece to replace, and they already don't last forever, and they're very delicate. You want to put the reed in your mouth like this and soak it. You can also put the thicker end in your mouth and soak it, but you want to leave that thin part in there while you are putting your clarinet together. And I'm going to set it aside for now, for me, so that you can understand me speaking to you. Now, the first part of the clarinet you're going to pick up is called the bell. It's bell-shaped, so it should be easy to find. And then you're going to connect that to the lower joint. Oops, I had it right here. The lower joint has 3 keys on the front, and on the back it has a thumb hook. It's the longest piece in your case. So you're going to connect the part with the cork on the end to the bell by twisting and pushing them together. New clarinets have new cork, and so sometimes it takes a while to break that in. If you're finding it's hard to twist and push those clarinet pieces together, you should take your cork grease, which looks like chapstick, but is definitely not chapstick, so don't put it on your lips. You should take that cork grease and smudge it on the cork. And it will take a couple weeks probably for your cork to break in completely. So I just applied some cork grease. You don't need to do very much, you just rub it in. Okay, so once you have your lower joint connected to your bell, we're going to grab our upper joint, which is the second longest piece and the longest piece remaining, this one. Okay. So this is called the upper joint, and this piece is a little bit more delicate because it has these keys that dangle over the edge of the cork. You can see here. These keys are called bridge keys because they connect the upper joint to the lower joint. And if you see carefully, when I push down this ring here, we have a little piece of metal that moves out of the way. It's very important that when we attach the upper joint to the lower joint, that we gently push this key down to move it out of the way so that it doesn't bend. So I'm going to hold it like this and attach it like this. So now we have the upper joint, the lower joint, and the bell connected, and I lined up the keys in the front. You can see all the metal rings are lined up. You want your clarinet to do that too. The next piece we're going to take and attach is the barrel. Most barrels are thicker at one end than on the other, and you're going to attach that to the upper joint by twisting and pushing. Again, if your cork is tight, you can apply some cork grease. It's kind of like a good pair of sneakers. You need to break them in. Now, the next piece we're going to attach is the mouthpiece, which looks like this. For some of you, there will be a metal or plastic cover on it. You can just remove that for now and set it aside. And I'm actually going to remove this metal part as well. This is called the ligature. We're going to deal with this in a minute. Now I'm going to attach the mouthpiece, and I want you to notice, I don't know how well you can see because it's black, but there's a hole. Okay, that hole you're going to twist and push so that it lines up, and that flat part of the mouthpiece is going to line up with the back of the clarinet, where this teardrop shaped key, single hole, and thumb hook are located. So this is the flat part with the hole. Now, this is a ligature, and this is the part that holds the reed onto the clarinet. It's very important, and if it's not adjusted correctly, your clarinet won't make any sound at all. So some kids get confused because they put their ligature on like this and they say it doesn't fit. Well, try flipping it over. because one end is thicker and one end is thinner. I want you to loosen the screws so that you can get your ligature really low, and it should be able to slide up and down like that. Now is the time where you can finally take the reed out of your mouth and connect it to the instrument. So here's my size 2.5 clarinet reed. Now, I'm actually going to take this apart so I can get a little bit closer to you so that you can see it. I'm going to move the ligature up like this so that the flat part is right here. I'm going to put the flat part of the reed on the flat part of the mouthpiece, gently slide it up. Notice I'm really careful not to touch the ends, the most delicate part of the reed. Then I'm going to slide the ligature down, and then I'm going to wiggle it into place using my fingers and touching this side. It's adjusted appropriately when you can see a little sliver of black peeking over the top of the reed. The reed is straight, the screws are straight, and the ligature is pretty much as low as it can possibly go. Now I'm going to tighten it up, righty-tighty, so tighten those screws, and the screws should be on your right. You should have to do this with your right hand even if you're left-handed. So it will look like this when it's set up properly. Now yours is already connected to your clarinet if you've been following my directions. And you are all set. You're ready to play the clarinet. Now, if you're having a hard time making a sound on the clarinet, I have a separate video for that. But for this video, we're going to pretend you've already played, and now it's time to take your clarinet apart. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to kind of take it apart in backwards order. You're going to loosen the screws on the ligature. I gently pop the reed through the top, again being careful not to touch the tip, and place it immediately back in the reed case. This is the most delicate part of your instrument, and so it needs to come off first and be put away completely before you move on to the next step. Now, I have an old clarinet, so I'm going to take my clarinet apart at the barrel, and I have an old swab. Now, many of you in your case will have somewhere a silk or cotton swab, and sometimes it's just a string and a rope. This is what mine looks like. It's kind of old and tattered, but what we're going to do has a weight on one end, and we're going to swab our clarinet. You can drop through the mouthpiece if your swab is long enough. Mine's not, so I'm dropping it through the upper joint, and you just drop the weight through and then pull it through like this. This will collect any condensation from your breath, especially if your clarinet is wooden. This is especially important. Now, if your clarinet, I'm doing it twice, if your clarinet didn't come with a swab, you can wait until you need reeds or something else like that before you go to the store to get it, but I wouldn't want to wait too long. And because I took my barrel off separate, I'm going to swab it separately. And now I'm going to put my mouthpiece back. If you had a plastic or metal mouthpiece cover, now's the time to put it back on. And you can slip it back into your case. I'm not going over where to put things in the case because everybody's case is a little bit different, but it's kind of like a puzzle. The pieces will only fit in the appropriate spot. So if you feel like you have to force a piece back into the case, you might want to try flipping it around or trying another spot. And that's it. Make sure your case is closed before you pick it up.